Hey everybody, this is Craig Cottle, the Director of Nature Reliance School. We've got a really fantastic exercise we're going to demonstrate for you today. Tracy Trimble, land navigation instructor with Nature Reliance School, and myself are going to go out. We're going to blindfold Tracy and take him out into the middle of the woods, and he is going to be required to navigate only with map and compass to make his way out. No GPS, no hints or helps from me. This is not a survival methodology class. This is simply to help everybody see some of the things that Tracy's going to go through to help navigate his way out. So this is the start of the trip. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to use this keffia or shema and put it over Tracy's eyes, and I'm going to drive him way back into the boonies, and then we're going to walk off into the woods in the boonies. Now, a couple things in regards to safety. I've already designated to my wife the area that we're generally going to be in, so if something happens to Tracy and I both, then we know that she will know how to get somebody to us, as well as we have a first aid kit in my pack and all the essentials in case he and I need to stay out here tonight. So you ready?
I guess.
Let's go. We'll be back soon. Alright everybody, so this is what we have. This is Tracy. He's getting ready to walk out in the woods. He's going to fall right behind me, and I'm going to walk him way out into the woods. I've driven around, got him confused on the road as best I can, and then we're going to take the blindfold off. So we've been walking about 15 minutes, and now he's going to take his blindfold off, and we're going to get started on him trying to find his way out of here.
Just took the blindfold off, and the scenario that we have set up is that I'm a day hiker, and I have headed out on a day hike, and I have gotten turned around. I know the big picture, the big general area. I know where I'm at, but the details of exactly where I'm at on the map I do not know. So that is my goal. My goal, ultimate goal, is to locate myself on the maps provided. Once I have a guess of where I'm going to be, I'm going to tell Craig. Craig's going to use the GPS to identify the UTM points, and we're going to see how close I am. He's going to either tell me yes or no. This exercise is not about equipment. The only equipment for this exercise is map and compass. Map and compass. The map is going to have topo and UTM. The compass and terrain features that we can associate out here. No GPS. Craig's got the GPS. This is a very, very controlled exercise. We've set a time limit. If we get to that time limit and I haven't been able to locate myself on a map, Craig's got the GPS. He knows this area like the back of his hand, so we're in no danger here. Very controlled environment. So the first thing I'm going to do, since we've been driving around and my head's a little spinny from Craig's driving, Jennifer, his wife, will appreciate that comment. I'm going to use the stop method that Craig teaches at Nature Reliance School. I'm going to stop. I'm going to sit down, think, observe, plan, and then I'm going to act. So I'm going to spend a few minutes. I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to relax. I'm going to let my energy reduce a little bit. Quite honestly, I'm a little anxious. I didn't think I would be, but I can feel a little anxiety building up. So I'm going to sit down and stop and think about all the data that I am for sure about. Once I get that kind of list in my head, we'll come back and I'll tell you all the things that I know. We are in the process of implementing the acronym STOP, so I literally sat down, hydrated. I listened very, very intently, trying to listen for vehicles. I know I'm in the cave run area, so I was listening for boat. I was feeling a little bit of anxiety build up, so that helped just to sit down and calm myself down just a tad. The things that I know, I'm going to show you on a map. I'm going to put the camera over my shoulder so that you can kind of see my thought process and what I'm thinking. but this video will not be on how to do things. I'm just going to talk about the philosophy and the thoughts, good and bad, right or wrong, that is going through my head. So I know I've got some wrong thoughts, but and I'll throw them out there and see where they lead me. One of the very first things that I did once I sat down and stood up is I want to grab my map and I'm going to orient it north and south. And like I said, we're not going to go in detail on how to do that, but I literally oriented my map so that I would have a good basic directions of where Cave Run Lake is. And like I said, I know that I'm generally in where my hand is on the map. I know that I'm somewhere in there. So if this was a critical situation, I know that I could travel due north and I would eventually hit Cave Run Lake, northeast, and I'd definitely hit Cave Run Lake. I know that, I know, just like a day hiker, I know where the road that I traveled into the area, so I can see on the map. I know that if I travel due south, I would eventually come across a decent road, blacktop or gravel. So, but I don't want to do that. I want to focus kind of on terrain features. I may have to end up going to the lake to find my way, but I want to focus on some terrain features first and foremost. Whenever I stood up and walked around, there's a decent little stream over here to my right, which is not on camera, and it's large enough to where I think that the topo map would show it in these blue lines. So it's a tricky situation. I'm not going to fixate that this stream is in fact one of these streams that's on the map, but that is one piece of the puzzle that I'm going to kind of throw in my bag of information to keep and see if it plays out. The other thing that that I'm going to do here in just a second is to determine which direction I'm going to start walking in. Sit, think, observe, and plan. I sat down. I gave good consideration of my thoughts of where I generally know where I'm at, the general vicinity, and I observed some things. I observed a waterway over here to my right. I actually took what I perceived to be on my compass. I took a show right down through here. On my compass, I looked at the holler that I'm in, and I tried to pick the middle, and I shot that with my compass. I adjusted for declination, and I came back onto my map, and I looked at 2 or 3 places. There's 2 places that match up the same angle as my compass on this map. There's a waterway over here to my right, and whenever I walked back up the holler this way, I ran into this junction where these 2 creeks come together. Now, I don't know if that's exactly where I'm at, but that's going to be my starting point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to
point out that other one too, Tracy, that looks similar.
There's a junction right here where these 2 creeks come together.
And why do you think it's not that one?
Well, the angle, whenever I shot my compass, and then I applied it to my map, this angle, the way this is running, is different than the way this angle is running. This one matched up within about 2 or 3 degrees of my compass. Now visually, because we have so much canopy out here and leaves are so thick, as I'm looking down through here, I may not be looking dead center of the holler. So it's not going to be ever exact, but this one matches up closer than this one. So I am going to start off here. I'm going to walk down the creek, and I'm going to start looking for these little draws. Once again, if I say holler, here in Kentucky, that's what I mean, these little draws here. And if I'm where I think I am, or where my first potential guess is, as I'm walking down through this creek, there should be a draw off to my left, roughly due west. And that's where we're going to take off right now. So we've been walking down the creek downstream. I did in fact find the draw of the holler off to my left. We have since walked up that holler. You can see behind me, you can see how thick the canopy and the leaves are. At this point I can't even tell what the center of the draw is. So what I did was I found a tree that I considered halfway between the hills, directly across left and right. And I tied a bandana up top as far as I could reach, something that I could see. Then I continued to walk on up the holler as far as I could and still see this bandana. I positioned myself in the center of where I was. I was able to shoot a back azimuth to this bandana, then take a 180 and shoot. And when I did so, the reading on my map, the angle that I took off the map for this particular holler, was within about 3 degrees of what my compass said it was. So at this point in time, I would add another check mark to the good column, another piece of the puzzle to help me identify where I'm at. What we're going to do now is we're going to head back out to the main creek that we were originally on and identify another terrain feature on down the creek and try to find it and add another piece of the puzzle. So we've been walking downstream. If I'm at the position where I think I am, this is the little draw of the holler that we walked up and tied the bandana on, and we've walked back out, sit down and rest and hydrate. I'm going to do another walk down this stream and see if I can't locate this draw here. As you can see, it should be a significant wide area as opposed to what we have here. It should be even a little wider. And I'll take a compass reading and see if this angle matches up with the map, and I'll be back with you. About 200 meters up the creek, up this little waterway, mentally I made a mark on the map to where I thought I was, kind of my first guess. Looking at the map, we should have came into a draw off to our right, and I was guessing about 200 meters. I didn't bring my protractor out to measure it, but about 200 meters. So I know my pace count. I paced off what I counted 200 meters, and from the position up the creek, that should put us in the opening or very near the holler off to our right. And I am looking, this is the direction that we've been walking down the main creek, and I am looking at the holler off to our right.
And that's what I've got the camera on now, guys and gals.
The camera on now. So mentally, I'm going to put a check mark in the good column as a piece of the puzzle, and I'm going to investigate this area a little bit. I'm going to walk up this particular draw and see if I can't get a decent angle compass and see if that matches up with my map, and maybe even step off the opening of the holler to see if it kind of corresponds with the distance that's the opening on the map, the topo lines.
Tracy, can you tell us again how you determined it was approximately 200 meters?
Well, on the map, mentally I made a mark of where I thought we were, and then the UTMs are 1,000 meters square. We're using 1 to 24,000 USGS maps.
I'm focusing in on the map now.
So by knowing that's 1,000 meters between grid lines, I estimated about 200 meters. So we came down the waterway about 200 meters, walked up this right-hand draw, this little holler here, and took a compass reading on the angle. I tried to pick the center of it, the angle of it, and then applied that to my map of where I thought I was, and it matched up within 2 degrees. Adjusted for declination. And so at that point, the direction and the main angle of this creek has matched up since the start. We have ran into one.
Let's talk about that a second, because one of the things that you did is that you did at the very beginning look at this as if it was a possibility, and you also had 2 other possibilities. And so
Actually, that's right.
You have been going back and forth proving to yourself that this one is the one, or disproving that the other ones are wrong.
Yeah, I did more of disproving the other ones. I knew I was in a decent size holler, and like I said, I knew that if you remember me showing the handprint, I knew the general area that I was in. So I started applying the angle of the main holler from my compass to the map, and identified 2 really good possibilities and a third maybe. At that point, we started walking down the creek, down the waterway, and we started identifying draws on the left and right and getting their angles. And about the second one, my number 2 main holler did not pan out. It was almost total. It was way off my compass versus my map. So that was a piece of the puzzle that threw me back on this particular holler. We came on down to the next, and it matched up. We had a couple of negatives that I had to put in the negative column.
Like what?
Well, we saw the second little draw up there. We saw a decent sized waterway that I would have felt comfortable that it should have been marked on the map with blue dash, and it wasn't. So that I put that in a negative. But then we come on down to the next one, and it worked out. I measured, stepped off from the last holler down to this one. It matched up perfectly. I shot the angle of this one. This one matched up just perfectly. So I had far more check
Hey Tracy,
marks.
when you say perfect, you've mentioned, let's just make sure we point it out to you. When you say perfect, how many degrees off are you allowing yourself there?
Less than 5.
Okay.
Less than 5, and that's after you adjust for declination. So don't forget to do that. I had far more positives. I had far more check marks in the positive column than the negative column. So I made my guess. I marked it on the map. Craig is familiar with the area. He checked his GPS, and we are where I said we are on the map.
So yep, that's what we call the lost man exercise, and this was our first take at it. So we're learning how to go about doing this, because our goal is, I think I'm going to be the guinea pig next, but our ultimate goal is to take others out and do this exact same thing, so that we can help people learn how to navigate in the woods. Our recommendation is you take a class. If you're near us, absolutely we want you to come take a class with us, obviously. If you're not near us, then contact us. We can get you in contact with a lot of good land navigators across the country. And keep on getting out. We appreciate you subscribing to our channel. If at all possible, do that. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video as much as you can. So come on, join in. Let's learn together.